that's definitely a good one. Yeah, I think what the place to start is, you understand what you're trying to accomplish. You're trying to drive registration to the events, and understanding who are the people most likely to be interested in the event, and then understand their perspective, their point of view, what they may be interested in, and the places that they spend time online. Which specific social media channels are they most likely to be engaged in? And one of the things I wanted to really point out in the third edition is, in determining that, it's not enough to look at monthly active users anymore for, because Facebook is always going to be dominant in that area, but certain groups of people may have a Facebook account and they may log in once a month, which would be the definition of a monthly active user. But which social channel are they going to daily, right? And I guarantee that's probably different for different groups of people, where a certain age group may be on TikTok daily, or they may be on Snapchat daily, or Instagram versus a Facebook. If you're trying to reach business people, you would probably think LinkedIn, and that's probably a good place to reach business people. But people aren't that active on LinkedIn on a daily basis. They're probably more active on a Facebook. So I wouldn't rule out like a Facebook to reach a business audience, especially if you can find a Facebook group that aligns with the interests of the type of business person you're trying to reach.
Yeah, we've talked about on campus, obviously making personal contacts with faculty, but also various student groups. One thing we haven't talked about is staff on campus. There are a lot of staff members on this campus. And I know way back in the day when we have one of our ideas is we have a gateway person who can put a story in the student newspaper. When we used to study readership of the gateway, staff was actually a larger group of readers than students and faculty. So I'm wondering if there are ways like through the staff advisory council or other means that we can reach campus staff as well.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like would be like almost like an influencer strategy, where you're not trying to reach every individual person yourself. If you can identify influencers that could spread the message for you to reach a larger group, yeah, I think that would be a good next step, is, who may influence a larger group of people for us, and do a more specific direct outreach to those type of people.
I know that you've worked with clients over the years. Have you had a situation where you were developing social media plans for trying to promote some kind of an event, small, medium, or large, and what are the things to watch for? What are the pitfalls in this area?
Yeah, I think yeah, one of the important things for events is obviously to think, to plan ahead, right? But the other thing is, events can help generate a lot of social media content and attention, like during the event. So I would think of, what kind of engagement can we intentionally have during the event and encourage people to like promote things to hashtags, because you may pick up extra people, during the event, or that can build a buzz that may lead to more attendance the next time you have that event. So don't underestimate the live component, because a lot of people, everyone's even at events, have their phones out, and they're, if you give them specific things to do and encourage them to post about the event, that's going to help build momentum for possibly the event when it's happening, but also for the next time you have the event.
So that's an idea, I think, for you, Diana, as the lab technician, to maybe write up some taglines that I can use as moderator during this webinar. Be sure to post on, use our hashtag, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We have a whole lot of questions that the students have been developing here in the last half hour. And Jesse is asking about YouTube. Any tips on what is most popular on that platform?
Well, YouTube tends to be the place for longer content that helps people. Like, usually people go to YouTube to answer questions like, how do I do this? How do I do that? So, and if you can create videos that answer those questions, that tends to be what's, because the thing that's unique about YouTube is search driven. You know, you can follow channels, but it's not like following accounts on Instagram or Facebook. Most people go to YouTube and are searching something. So that's the way you want to think about YouTube, is what do people search and how can I create a video that will appear in that search and answer what they're searching for. That's different than making a video for Facebook that's going to pop up in their feed and they're going to scroll through it really quickly and you need to grab their attention, and it needs to be a short video, highly entertaining. People will sit down and consume a YouTube video that's longer as long as they find it to be valuable. And it can be valuable in terms of answering a question or educating them, or it can be funny, you know, funny content, but longer content tends to work, and it's search driven.
Jesse, did you have a follow-up, or did that capture what you were thinking about there? You good? Okay. Madison, you want to ask your question about engagement and brands and companies?
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, if all brands or like companies should like be on every form of social media, or if they should only stick to the ones where they like know they'll get the most engagement, or like where they're likely to get the most engagement. Because like some brands and companies just are more, they get more activity on Facebook, but then like should they also be on Twitter just in case, or just not even like mess with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think too many companies are on too many channels. And I think part of it is they just, every time they see a trade article with big buzz about this new channel, they think, oh, we have to be there. And they just open a new account. And then over the years, there's been a lot of new social media channels. And then they look back and they're like, oh, we're on 8 social media channels. The problem is they're probably not doing all of them well, because even big companies have limited resources, staff, and budgets. And you can't afford to do all those channels really well, because you have to be publishing content constantly and listening to people and responding and engaging. So I would encourage even the big brands to look at their strategy and say, where's our target audience spending the most money, or which 2 or 3 or 4 channels are going to give us the best bang for our buck, that are going to be the most efficient. And I would encourage them to pare it down. Don't fall into the trap of, we just have to be on this new channel because everyone else is talking about it. Make sure it's strategic.
Well, speaking of strategic, Crystal, you have a question about frequency of posts?
Yeah, so I only have one follower on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
And instead of asking friends and begging family members and classmates to follow me, I'm wondering how I can build a following without them. And I'm wondering how much you have to post and engage daily.
Yeah. I'll share what I did to kind of get my numbers up. And when I was first starting, the one thing I would do is first think of the topic that you want to be known for, because you can't just build a following by just randomly posting about a bunch of different things. People will follow you if they know you're going to be posting on a specific topic that match their interest. So first figure that out. And then what I would do is, you know, every day on my walk from my car to my office, I would pull out Twitter and I would search for articles that were relevant to social media. And if I found something interesting, I would write my own personal take on it, or an insight and share the article to people. And I would share it to specific hashtags like social media marketing that I knew people would be searching to find that kind of information. And then over time, people would slowly find my posts and say, oh, he's providing valuable information in something I'm interested in. And then they would start to follow me. But also, when I found an article, I would also tag the person that wrote it. And then they would see that I was sharing their article, and a lot of times they would reshare or they would follow me in return, and I would follow them, and then that would help build up followers over time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's really helpful. I think I'll just pick a topic and stick with it because
Yeah, you need to, that's the only way you're going to grow, is you need to focus.
yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent discussion. Nicholas, TikTok, right? You're interested in TikTok?
Yeah, I just know that with the whole like the YouTube videos and stuff, I know like a lot of content creators and bloggers and stuff like that's actually their job. You know, they every day they just make YouTube videos, and I didn't know after seeing that from BBC News that that's kind of scares those people and YouTube general as a whole as well, as if they're losing viewership. Because I've heard that like you can actually make quite a bit of money off of doing that too. So maybe even a follow-up to this question too, even is if would you YouTube content creators and bloggers, would they even start leaving YouTube to go to TikTok to even try to just do better over there overall?
I think it depends on a case by case basis. There's certain type of content that is better served for YouTube, and that's where people are going to go to look for it. TikTok's very popular, but it's certain types of videos that are appropriate for TikTok. So if you think about, if I'm a DIY construction person and I help people fix their appliances in their home, so anytime, or there's a home project, like I need to fix a leaky sink, they go to me and they find my tutorial video and I get a lot of views. I make money off of advertisers running ads inside of my videos, and that's how I can make a lot of money. Or I'm a beauty person and I show people how to put their makeup on, and I get, I have like 800,000 views of all of my every video I put out. Then there's makeup companies are advertising inside my videos. That's how I make money. So you have to think, can I do a makeup tutorial on TikTok, or can I teach someone how to fix a leaky sink on TikTok? It's just different. Or if I'm a really good dancer and choreographer and I'm good at entertaining people, then I'm always creating these entertaining videos that people love to follow, then TikTok may be the place. But then I have to consider the channel. There was this guy, what was his name? There was this guy that became very popular on Vine. And he would do these like trick videos that were really interesting and engaging. And then as Vine was winding down, he just moved to Instagram and he created the same kind of videos, but they were working in 15-second Instagram videos, because Instagram added 15-second videos to compete with Vine. So you just have to think of, I wouldn't decide to be a influencer on TikTok unless I knew I could create what's popular on TikTok. I may choose YouTube if I know I can create the kind of videos that tend to be popular on YouTube.
Yeah, I was mentioning earlier, Keith, that we have an alum who was a radio guy here who, when he works in the radio industry, but he's also a comedian, and he was an early adopter of TikTok. He quickly amassed 1 million followers there, and he's getting paid influence offers of $1,000 for a 30-second video.
Wow. Yeah.
So I was talking to him about disclosure and using the ad and sponsor hashtags and being on the up and up with the Federal Trade Commission.
Yeah. And that seems like TikTok seems like a good platform for a comedian. That would not be a good platform for me because I'm not a comedian, but
Yeah, I'm not funny enough.
But if you have the talent, I would say go for it.
Let's see, Anna, you want to jump in here with your question? about the pandemic. Did we lose Anna? Are you there? She was asking about, has the pandemic changed social media in your view?
Yeah, if you look at, if you look at usage, it went up a lot during the pandemic when people were stuck at home and couldn't go out and do anything. And then marketers followed suit and they increased their spending on social media. For years, the percentage of spending on social media from the overall marketing budget was hovering around 10%. And I think it got to maybe 11% before the pandemic. During the pandemic, it jumped up to almost 25%. Marketers were spending a lot more money on social media marketing. Now, after this past year, after kind of the lockdown started opening up again, it came back down to 14%. So it didn't go back to where it was. It's higher, but it's not at the 24%. So I think if anything, it showed businesses the importance of marketing on social media, and they've increased their spending, and it's going to stay there and it's going to go up. But also, I would say that with in-app ordering and the importance of being able to order on your phone and pick things up and get delivery, social media channels, businesses realize that they need to do a lot more sales and direct marketing through social media channels as well, because that's become more important. It's not just all about getting likes and followers,
That brings up something we were talking about last hour, Keith, which is how much should we be using email blasts to promote our event, as opposed to just focusing on social media channels?
I think, I don't know. The last research I saw is social media and banner ads and other forms of advertising may get attention, but all the data says email is where you actually make the sale. There's just something about email that that's where people click through and actually make the purchase or register for the event. The other things will get their attention, but email is still effective for that last step.
So we could take each of these students has a social network. If they could personalize an email to their network of people with the link,
yeah,
and tell why they're interested in the event, that could have a large impact then, right?
Yeah. I always encourage, that's like a secret way to promote anything, is change your email signature and put something at the bottom. That's kind of the way, then you're just always promoting it without even thinking about it.
Cool. Jared, we've talked a lot about platforms, but do you have a follow-up question about kind of what are the best ones, or specific example that you're thinking about there?
Yeah, he kind of already answered my question, which is nice. But I guess the only thing, is there a platform that you would recommend, like a business, or to get our message out there? Is there a platform you recommend starting on and then maybe branching off into a different one after starting up on it? Or do you think you should just focus on all of them at once?
So who's the target again, specifically?
Is it Jeremy, is it just the UNO students? I forget what the exact target is.
Yeah, I mean, for our event, it's certainly a big one, but I think you were talking about for a business, right?
Yeah.
Like what kind of a business were you thinking about?
I don't know. I was kind of just asking in general, but if you had like a recommended for just the businesses, or I guess for our event as well.
Yeah, I mean, I always like use an example, Keith. So down the street, I've got a shop that sells lawnmowers. We did that one several years ago with the class. What is a small business like that that maybe isn't in any social media? Where do they start?
I would start with who's my target, and that, to me, that's going to be homeowners, which is probably going to be middle-aged people. And where do they spend their most time? And that's probably going to be Facebook, right? So I would look at Facebook as a place to start. and then see how that goes. And then I might add an additional channel that makes sense. But, you know, if you're going to have a middle-aged homeowner, that's probably where they're going to start. But then I would branch off and look at some specialized social media channels, because it's not just the networks. As the book, you know, as you get more in the book, you cover different areas like ratings and review sites. And there's specific ratings and review sites for those types of businesses, like Angie's List, which is now called Angie. It merged with another site. So then I would start considering like an Angie's List, or if it's relevant, like Yelp or something like that, where people are looking to find those types of businesses.
Well, and that relates to the work we're going to do later in the semester with the rural communities and the website we're creating, because all of our work to date with 7 different rural Nebraska communities has suggested that, number one, their audience is on Facebook in those rural communities, and then secondarily Instagram. That's the ones that they're excited about. And the businesses kind of are getting increasingly interested in Google advertising, being found by search.
Well, and the one thing you'll notice, if you do a Google search, there's a lot of social media content that appears in a Google search. So it's not always about search engine optimization or pay-per-click ads to appear in a search. Your social media content can get you on that search page as well. And you'll notice most businesses have a Google business page. It's called Google My Business. And part of that is ratings and reviews that show up, and that's social media. And so that's something that you want to be involved in as a business, and make sure you're monitoring that and responding to people who are giving you reviews.
Dakota, I think you're talking about tone in your question.
Yeah, essentially talking about tone and how just how you can be more personal with a random user if you're a company, rather than just coming off as like a giant advertisement on people's.
Yeah, actually, in my social media class Tuesday, we had a great example of that. I had them just kind of looking at British Petroleum and looking at their social feeds and what's happening with that company, because, you know, there's a lot of controversy around oil companies these days. And I wanted to see how they were handling it. And there were actually people complaining about the gas stations, like people running their gas stations, and like attendant was asleep and things like that. And the company, they noticed over a couple complaints, the company kept responding with this canned response that was the same every time. It was like, oh, our gas stations are independently owned and operated, and we have standards, but we can't control what they do. It was, you know, and it was just so impersonal. And yeah, I think you need to just, that's not what people want, right? You just need to treat each situation unique, and you may have written responses or things you can pull from to help you respond, but you need to customize the response every time you respond to someone, you know? And you have to think about the personality of the brand. And some brands have more of a edgy personality, like the Wendy's account versus like an insurance company or a bank, you know, but you can still be friendly. You don't have to give a canned response that's the same to everybody.
So if we think about when we have a complaint from a customer care perspective, we want that authenticity. We want to know that we're being listened to, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you want to respond, but don't have a bot that automatically responds the same thing to everybody.
Brittany, you had a question about focused messages?
Yeah, so you already touched on it a bit, but we know it's the best practice to focus on narrowly focused messages because they stand out more than general messages to everyone. So I guess I was just like wondering, is it ever beneficial to target a mass audience? And if so, how can you effectively do that?
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, that's one of the hardest concepts to get across because it seems counterintuitive. Like if I want to get the most people coming to my event, or if I want to generate the most sales, then I need to talk to everybody. And I don't know, case after case after case proves that usually when you try to talk to everyone, you reach no one, or you reach less people and you end up with less results. Because if you think about it, think of, how many messages do you see throughout the day from your phone and your laptop and your computer and your TV, and you're inundated with them. And the only ones that grab your attention are the ones that say something specific that you are interested in. And you're not going to do that if you're just a general message trying to reach a mass audience. So I think and it used to be a company would have enough money and there were only limited entertainment options on TV that you could buy attention and pound the message into people, but you just can't do that anymore. There's too many options and there's too many ways for us to ignore messages. So you have to start with a well-defined audience, understand their needs and their wants and their pain points and their anxieties, and give them the message that speaks to what they're looking for.
So that, I think, speaks also to social media listening, to understand that audience better, to see what they're talking about, right?
Oh yeah, there's so much value in just listening and seeing what people are talking about. And if you can make your message relevant to what they're talking about and still relevant to whatever you're trying to accomplish, that's where you're going to really, hit the gold mine.
So based on what you were talking about earlier about how you grew your own social media presence, if we listen to conversation about the First Amendment and free expression, we may have some clues about who's influential, what they're talking about, what's sticky, what we could kind of tie into, right?
Yeah, and look for questions that people are seeking, and if your event answers it, then you know what people are seeking, and you can pose your event as this help for the solution or the answer, or just to learn more about it, because you know what people are questioning or looking for.
Hey, I want to
identify the influencers that are talking about it already.
Right. Yeah, I want to wrap this up soon because I don't want to take too much more of your time, sir. But the students are also going to be looking this week at the social media audit template.
Yes.
And comparing a couple of local or regional brands using that model. Any tips about how they should go about that process, what they should look for?
Yeah, I mean, the important thing there is, I present this audit at like a business conference to local businesses, and even businesses that have social media monitoring software and they're posting all the time, they see a real value in performing an audit, because when you're day to day just posting and responding, you never take a step back and look at the big picture. So that's the value of the audit. And you as an outsider from these businesses, you have even more benefit of being able to do that. So first, just go to the website of the business, look for their official social media channels. They usually have them listed at the bottom. Start there, just start scrolling through, see what kind of content they're posting, try to get an idea of how much engagement they're getting. Are people commenting or responding or sharing? Just scroll through the feed for a couple days back and you'll get an idea of what's happening. And then I always like to identify like a main competitor, because everyone has a consideration set that they're deciding upon, and see what the competitor's doing and how they differ. Are they on the same channels? Are they posting different content? Are they getting more engagement than your main brand that you're looking at? Are they on a different channel? And how are they doing there? And then finally, I always go and I search, there's probably people talking about the brand not on their main channel officially to them. And you want to see what's happening out there, then you can just do general searches on the brand name. What are people talking about? Or go to a channel that they're not on and see if people are talking about the brand, even though they don't have an official account. When you combine those three things together, you always are going to find like some really good insights and some strategies that the company should consider.
Is there a secret in that regard that moves a brand from maybe getting a fair amount of reach on their posts to actually sparking engagement on those posts? It seems like that oftentimes there are posts out there and maybe the impressions are there or whatever, but on Twitter or somewhere else, but you don't see a whole lot of engagement. What's going on there? What's wrong?
So did you say they get a lot of, they're just not getting engagement?
Yeah, maybe the post is being seen either organically or by being promoted,
Yeah.
but then it really falls flat. You don't see people really interacting with it.
Well, it's probably the type of content. Is it a type of content that you read and then you like get the point and then you move on? Or is it inviting, like you have to respond to it, right? You've seen that type of content. There's some things you just can't help yourself and you have to contribute your opinion, or it's an intentional question and they're asking for your opinion, or what's your perspective on this, or they want you to share something. Like you can craft messages specifically that invite engagement and ask for it. But a lot of brands, they're in this mindset of we got to create content and we're just going to create content that talks about our main benefit and put it out there. Well, no wonder no one's engaging with it. It's just a brand message. It's not inviting engagement.